they might receive a type of breast cancer, even though they are a man. They might receive some type of breast cancers, and that's just a problem that a lot of them don't realize these days. So that's why I try to educate as much people as I can straight up on their nipples, so that they know and I know that the world is coming to a better place.
No, and
I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, no, and I think so. And it brings us to something more important: the abuse that these children are overcoming, and the degree that their lack of knowledge in how to not only erect their nipples, but at what rate they should cognitively, apprehend that notion. How do I take on this venture? How do I take care of my nipples without making them sore, without taking advantage of the
ability to bring in revenue against your nipples? Is that
right? You never want to abuse the system, and your nipples are your bread and butter. What are different strategies for our less fortunate youth to take advantage of, and what are the best ways to get into that market of erecting their nipples for long periods of time? The floor is yours. Go ahead.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Go right ahead.
Hold on, we have a question from the audience. Go ahead, sir.
What the fuck?
All right, thank you for asking us your question. We really do appreciate it. We'll get back to you as soon as we're done here. Now, what I'd like to say...
He mentions a good point, Doctor, and with all due respect for your aptitude, you're very studied. When he says, what the fuck, I think that what he's referring to is in a more sexual nature. So moving beyond the children, and touch base on the children first and how they can get into that field. But I think it's important to expand. How can we bring this into cultivating a relationship with our lover? How can we take this to the bedroom, per se? And I don't want to go out on a limb here, but how can we transition from teaching children how to erect their nipples for a long period of time, and then transitioning into where we can seek genuine pleasure from having our loved ones erect our nipples for us? The floor is yours when you're ready, sir.
All right, thank you. I am ready. I have come prepared. What I'd like to say is, as a young boy, I'd just like to make a connection. I used to, when I used to give my nipples flicks, I didn't realize you have to flick in moderation, and that was a very big problem I had. I didn't realize you had to flick in moderation and then think about it. If you were to just keep flicking your nipple all day, what would happen? Because I used to do it roughly 4 times with every 20 minutes, and I ended up getting sore nipples. So then I ventured to ways to try to make it so a little less hard on me. So one of the things I realized I could do is if I took some chocolate milk and I dipped my fingers in it, and I just kind of caressed the nipple with my fingers, it generally, it kind of made it a little bit softer. It kind of gave it a little bit of a nicer feeling, so that it could kind of be more adjusting to the flicks. It would soften the blows. Then after I put out my book, the nipple flicking story, the success, after I put out that, a lot of people, they came to me and they said, well, we really appreciate what you're doing for the world, and I demonstrated at live venues. I demonstrated live. I opened up for Metallica. I opened for Metallica, demonstrating this.
With just purely, so the audience understands, with just purely nipple inflection, okay, and then as you continue with your, enchanting story, move towards where it encompassed the sexual nature. The floor is yours. Go when you're ready. I'm sorry.
No, it's no problem. It really isn't. One of the things I definitely recommend, by the way, just before I continue with my stories, a lot of people, they could pick up my new it's a nipple device I've created. What it does is it allows you to, if you're a first timer or if you're new to this, and you grab up on your nipple, like I said, there is obviously sometimes side effects. If it's your first time, you might get a little bit of a squirt coming out of your nipples if you're squeezing too hard. what I've done is I've created a machine that really allows you guys, it really does, to, it takes what it's going to do is it's not going to squirt all over the place, all over your walls. You know, you might stain your shirt. No, what this does, it'll catch it before it really, you know, it'll catch it before it even hits anything. You know, if there's a lot of people they want to try this, they can call 519-948-0731. And
that's the number, folks. Don't be afraid to call. Do not be afraid to take that first step in really achieving, nipple freedom, really learning the inner workings of how to please your nipples and the effects that chocolate milk, I've also heard, because I've read your book, with all due respect, what orange juice can do if you're looking for a stinging factor. But you make that call. You make that phone call. It's 516-228-1414. Again, that's 526-928-1414 if you're on the West Coast. And it's something that's at least worth a conversation, something to look through with your family and see if it's definitely going to benefit you. Doctor, before we continue on, I want you to really, I want you to really express, let's get to the next level. We're getting to the end here of our program, to where.
Question.
Idle.
What's the direct correlation between erect nipples and breast cancer?
Well, you see, first I'd like to let IhumpDogZ know that he is idle, in case he is not aware of this.
And perfect, thank you. And I mean, such insight that you bring. But I think it's forward that we address your question, and then move on towards an adult atmosphere where, how do we bring this into the bedroom, and how can it really affect our couples who are losing that flair, who've been together for more than 5+ years. The floor is yours when you're ready.
All right, I'm ready, and thank you very much. I'd like to address the question now, and could you please repeat the question?
What is the direct correlation between erect nipples and breast cancer?
Right, erect nipples and breast cancer. The floor is yours.
All right, now here's the problem. Okay, a lot of the younger, those rougher flickers, they really, when they get those flicks, it really, they're really too rough on it. And the problem is, when they're really rough on their nipple, here's what happens. Okay, I'll just try to explain it in a way that you might be able to understand. What's gonna happen is, they're gonna flick their nipple. Okay, just imagine this. It's a hard flick. It's not a soft one. These are first timers. They are new to this. They give it a flick, and then what's going to happen is it's going to send vibrations throughout their system, okay? And the cells inside of their nipple they're going to multiply. But since they're in shock, since the cells inside of the nipple are in shock, they're not going to receive the signals from the brain to stop multiplying. So here's what the problem is. You're going to have a bunch of nipples multiplying out of control, okay, and it's not going to stop. There will be no stop in the nipple division. So what we're going to do is we really have to think about how we can fix this. And here's the problem.
So true.
Okay?
So true.
There's the nipple itself. It's innocent. It doesn't do much. It's just there to have a good time. And then you have the cells within it that are not receiving the signals that they need. Okay, now what's going to happen is there's going to be a buildup, and there's going to be generally a small tumor. I apologize. There's going to be a small tumor inside of your nipple, and here's the problem: when you go to flick it, sometimes you might flick the tumor accidentally, and if you do that, then it's going to result in some bad things. So what we like to do is we need to identify first: is it a benign tumor or is it a malignant tumor? And if it's benign tumor, then we can get rid of this, and it'll be, we can have, you would be able to continue with your nipple flicking strategies, and you'd be able to become a better flicker. And we would give home remedies for this if it ever occurred. But after we identify if it is benign or malignant, if it is malignant, then we need to surgically remove this and hope that no other cells have spread throughout your body to start other tumors.
Correct,
Now,
correct. And forgive me, doctor. But remember, now these are not FDA approved concepts, nor are they your mainstream, and it might turn people off towards a different direction. But what you really have to instill, what you really have to take on, is that this is only truth. The sincerity from the relationship that me and Dr. CiziZioN has is that this is knowledge that's very ancient and has a very deep history. So I think at this point, I mean, I really would like to dive into what cultivated your studies. I mean, when did the influences of, the different nipple flicking and flexion and being able to avoid the circumstances of how hard you flick your nipple and how erect
your idol. But I do understand your question, and I will answer this question. Now, here's the problem, okay? There's a lot of those first timers, when they give it those really hard flicks, it leads to problems, and I have already explained those problems. But now, there is multiple things they can do to test the strength of their nipples. What I'd like to do is, I usually do live demonstrations. I like to take a piece of grapefruit, and once I get this piece of grapefruit, I pass it around the audience, and I let them each give it a flick. And depending on, I watch for the hard flickers, I watch for the rough guys, and when I find those ones, I try to tell those rough ones. I try to educate them like I have to the rest of the world. So there's some people that are just a natural flicker. There's some of those people that just know the power that they need, and there's those people that just don't. And a lot of them they don't realize the strength that they have. So I already said, I hope I answered the question. I just try to educate them with fruit, vegetables, all kinds of things. I watch for bruising, and that's what I try to do. And now I know you've asked the question before that I apologize that I did not answer sooner about the correlation between, the flare in relationships, okay, and the adultery that this can bring.
But doctor, more importantly, what we're looking to get into is that we don't want our public to have the perception that this is something that is new. I mean, I think it's really important to speak about, ancient antiquity as far as, within the times of the Mayans, who had the opportunity to have both nipples erect with proper flicks for not only an extensive period of time of 2 or 3 hours, but to go 6 straight years with fully erect glass-cutting nipples. And that's something that we really have to share about, because there's been links everywhere from the Yanomamis in the Amazon to early Egyptian culture where nipples were erect at literally weeks at a time. Where has this where has this science begun, and how has it advanced? And the floor is yours if
All right. Well, I'd like to explain. I'd like to address your question, your scenario that you've given me, of the dates that this started. I do personally believe, and by all means, I could be wrong because we did not live back in these times, but I believe that the first nipple flick was in year 69, and that's the furthest back nipple flick that we're aware of. There could be ones before that, but with our carbon dating, we've only found there to be to 69 right now. Now here's the problem, okay? Knowing that there could be nipples previously flicked and findled with before 69, we cannot 100% find these origins out. But as far as we are concerned, there was a man in the 69th year, and his name was Long John Jackson, and this man, this is just a story I'm aware of right now. He accidentally walked into a tree, okay, and when he was on the ground, because he was knocked out, okay, he was on the ground, and he his hands were roughly near his nipples, and when they were roughly near the nipples, the problem is he did not realize the potential that he had, and he accidentally
merely an accident.
it was merely an accident.